Hey everybody, this is Roy Vogt coming to you from Hummingbird Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Today I'm going to be teaching you all how to play the song Mountain Lion by Future User. That's in the May issue of Bass Player magazine, and it features the bass playing of a fine player, Tim Comerford, who you may know from Rage Against the Machine and also from Audio Slave. We're going to be taking this a section at a time, and you're going to find there's several challenges involved in this. I'm going to look at the first measure right now, and you'll see that there's a challenge immediately there. Well, needless to say, this is a pretty rapid tune, and if you noticed, my right hand was really getting a workout on this. One of the influences of Tim Comerford that he lays claim to is a gentleman by the name of Steve Harris. He's the bass player in the British heavy metal band Iron Maiden, and his trademark groove, as most of you know, is what I call the gallop. It's an eighth note and 2/16. It sounds something like this. Now, a lot of the guys that play the gallop style use three fingers. I'm not really a three-finger player, but I can show you a little bit of how this works. Essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play ring, middle, index, like this. Now that's, I'm not a three-finger player, so that's pretty sloppy. So instead, what I use is I use strict alternation. And the key to getting any speed with this is to really keep your hand close to the string and only use a little bit of movement if you can help it. So I'm just barely moving here, just enough to get the tone out. Now, the first measure, what we're doing is we're playing two notes. We're playing a G, 5th fret. Got that, Ralph? Yeah, I've got my my faithful sidekick and assistant and sometimes nemesis Ralph over there, and hopefully he'll be behaving himself through this. I'd say it's about a 50-50 chance. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with this G, 5th fret of the D string. Then I'm going to hammer a note. So that's the second note. So this is left hand only. G, hammer the A, and then I'm going to pick two more notes. Two A's. So basically it's a series of 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Needless to say, the tempo, which is quarter note equals 134, is pretty challenging. So what you might want to do is to take either a metronome or a drum machine and slow it down a bit. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow this measure down to 80 beats per minute. Almost half tempo, not quite. And the key or the trick, if you're playing slowly, is that you just want to keep those ratios even. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now, if that's too fast for you, slow it down even further, or just practice alone without the drum machine. You need to have a good solid sense of time by yourself anyway, so you can just take all four notes and play them really slowly but evenly. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. You might find that the biggest challenge is to coordinate that hammer on with the three picked notes. Pick, hammer, pick, 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 hammer, pick, pick. And some people may just be pick style players, speaking of pick, And you can do the same kind of thing there. The key with playing with a high speed with the pick is strict alternation. So I'm going down, hammer, up, hammer, down, up. Again, just like the three fingers technique, I'm not necessarily a pick player by choice. I'm more of a two-finger player. So I'll kind of focus more on that. Okay, so what we're going to do before we move on to the next section is we're going to play this really, really slow. So you can follow along with me. And I'll count you in 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So that's the first measure of this tune, and this occurs over and over again. What you'll find with this song is that there's 3 or 4 basic ideas or riffs that are repeated over and over again. That's the first one, and maybe one of the most challenging. All right, so this next section is going to be measures 2 through 5 in your transcription. What this has is more of those rapid-fire 16th notes, but it also has a little bit of a scale fragment challenge. We'll go through all of this at the performance tempo, and then I'll talk you through all these sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, that's pretty quick as well. This is all just non-stop 16ths with your right hand. But what happens is that we're going to be using an open A string, and then we're following up with 3 scale tones. So the first phrase is 4 open A's, followed by an E, 9th fret of the G string, an F, 10th fret of the G string, and then, of course, a G, 12th fret of the G string. And what I'm really doing there is I'm playing a little fragment of a scale that's called a natural minor scale, an A natural minor scale. This would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. On the lick, I'm just taking the E, F, and G, putting them up an octave. That kind of a thing. Now, when I go to the second measure, what I have is the same idea, except I'm going to change that last note, and pay attention, Ralph, because you're going to have to move this. I'm going to change that from a G to a G sharp, so I'm going to go from the 12th to the 13th fret. And what that does is that changes that scale fragment from a natural minor to a harmonic minor. One of the things that is different about that, actually the only thing that's different about a harmonic minor compared to a natural minor, is that the 7th note, A, B, C, D, E, F, is not G but G sharp. Once again, I'm only using 3 notes, E, F, and G sharp. Now at tempo, what you might find in terms of your fretting hand is that the easiest way to do this is to just slide your first finger like that. Particularly if you're at that performance speed. It's a whole lot easier than trying to do a stretch. So that's the first 2 measures. I'm going to play them really, really slowly so you can play them along with me. And one final thing before we do this, which is that a lot of times when you start playing a lot of 16th notes and skipping strings, there can be a problem with ring through. You can get this kind of thing happening. You can kind of hear my low A just kind of rumbling, which that's going to tend to make things sound really messy. Rather than letting that happen, what I do is I use my thumb, and I'm using what's called a floating technique. If I'm playing on the A string, the thumb's resting on the E. As I skip over and move over to that G string, the thumb comes down and mutes the A string. So it cuts the notes off so that you don't have the ring through. Really slowly, it looks like this. Now, the scale fragments you're playing will be, at this tempo, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and... So that's the first two measures. You know, I just kind of looped it. It only happens, you know, it only happens that once, and then it moves on to the next part of the pattern. The next part of the pattern starts like both of those minor scale fragments, but I'm going to move that last note on beat 4, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and to a B, which is the 9th fret on the D string. So that's actually going to set up the last pattern that I have to play, which is the open A, B, C, D. So the back half of that pattern is 4 A's, 4 E's, 4 F's, 4 B's, 4 A's, 4 B's, 4 C's, 4 D's. Once again, let's play this really slowly. I'm just going to count you guys in at a really slow tempo. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and... Now, I'm going to put all 4 measures together slow. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and... Now, that little bit, along with the first section, that's a lot of the tune. So one of the things about this, because this music is kind of electronic dance or EDM style, is there's a lot of kind of cutting and pasting of sections and movement through sections. So it's not a lot of through composed things in the bass lines. You'll see the same things over and over again. So by mastering those 5 little measures, you've actually got a lot of the tune done. Okay, now we're going to move to the other main groove. We've had all this really, really busy stuff, so we're going to finally lock into some 8th notes, at least for 4 measures. So this is going to be basically the 6th measure of your transcription. I'll play it, and then I'll kind of explain what's going on. That must feel like a vacation after all those 16th notes. What that is basically a bass line that's going over the sound of an A minor chord and an F with an A in the bass, which is sometimes called a first inversion chord. So the A minor to F. Now, the notes actually kind of stay the same. What I'm playing there is an A, the A octave, and I'm actually sliding down, then playing the lower A again. So the first part of it is 1 and then I've got 2 more eighth notes left. The other thing that's kind of interesting is that everything is an upbeat. A lot of times we get used to playing on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, just the downbeats. What these first 3 notes are all upbeats or offbeats. And, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. So that gives the line a little bit of forward energy, and it also makes it a little, I guess, for want of a better term, we could say a little bit off balance. So the rhythm is and, 4, and. Now if I add the notes to it, that's an A octave, and another A. So and. Then I've got 2 notes left, and those 2 notes that are left are a C and a D. And what happens with the bass line is the first time we play the C and the D up on the 5th and the 7th frets. The second time, what happens is that that's answered an octave down. Same notes. But they have a totally different sound because of that different octave. And that, a lot of times that's something that you can do in your own bass lines to create some variety. Take the same notes but just play with different registers. The other thing you'll notice is that he's using the open strings as a way to move around. That's something that he uses a little bit later in the tune. If we move ahead to, I believe it's going to be the page 66, he does a little variation on it, and I think that it's probably good to talk about this. Essentially, this little variation, which is actually at letter E, I believe that's going to be measure 63. He's going to start with a high E. Once again, this is still over that A minor to the F with the A in the bass. So he's starting with the E, or the 5th of the chord, then he hits the A, then he hits a low A, and then he goes back to that D and the C. So he's using, once again, the rhythms are all offbeats. And 3, 4, and 4, and 4, and 4, and. So the only downbeat in that line is actually beat 4. And 4, and. Now I'm going to play both lines very, very slowly so that you can kind of follow along and find them. This first one is at actually the measure 7. So this is once again a little slower, and I'm going to do the very first segment that I was talking you through, which uses the octave displacement on the D and the C. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If we move on to measure 63, this is that one where I'm starting with the E up here, 9th fret. Same rhythms. And 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just different notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A little brighter. and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, we're going to take a little bit of a look at how that dovetails into that scale riff. If you're looking at rehearsal letter A, basically what happens is you have those 4 eighth note measures, and then you've got that same scale lick, or that same scale run that was in the intro. This is that cut and paste thing that I was talking about that's in a lot of electronic dance music. So once again, if I take all of that really slowly, this is letter A. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and all right, so I'm going to take a minute and let's look at letter C, which is actually the bridge. And after all of those eighth notes and 16th notes, you'll be happy to see that there's some whole notes waiting for us there. And essentially, this is just the bridge changes. It's very easy to count, except for maybe measure 3. I'm sorry, measure 4. Measure 1, 2, and 3 are just whole notes and half notes. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 on the B, and then A, C. So it's basically a root, 2, 3, 4 on that B minor chord. You go to the A minor, it's a root and a third. Now, what I find interesting is what happens the next measure. What happens the next measure is a really stock funk rhythm. It's basically so it's 1 E and 2 E and 3, 4. So basically, if you're looking at it as, when I look at that kind of a rhythm, I'm looking at groups of 16th notes. And I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a good way to feel that rhythm when it happens. You've got the same rhythm happening a couple of measures later. The key of this is that the only downbeat here is going to be beat 1. You know, until you get to the third and fourth beats, everything else is an upbeat. 1 and 1 and. And then that next measure. So now I'm going to play this through with this busy drum loop. So I'm going to turn the drum loop down so it doesn't overwhelm. This is a lot of space in this. So you have a little bit of a scale run there where you're running up that natural minor scale that I was talking about earlier. The only difference, if you're following the notation in the magazine, is that you're moving up 2 strings, which actually is a good way to do a rapid fire line because you're not having to do string skipping. So this is going to be right before rehearsal letter D, 3, 4. So that's how that one little run works. This pretty much gives you most of the building blocks that you need to play this transcription. There's a few little odds and ends there, but you'll hear them and you'll catch them. I've given you just the bullet points of how to get through this tune. Like I said, this is a really quick tune, so you want to take the time and practice this very, very slowly and make sure that everything's really precise and even, and then you can try speeding it up to the recording tempo. Have fun with this one. It's a challenge, but once you get it down, you'll be really happy. Have a good day.